Hello, thank you so much for taking time to check out our midweek meditation for this week. Folks at Lansing Avenue Baptist Church. I'm Pastor Steve Seabrook. There's a little guy, Liam, here. And this last Sunday, we looked at Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. There we see Paul challenge the church to not be anxious. In fact, it says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything to pray. By prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. That we have this wonderful gift for us that we don't need to worry or be anxious. We can go to our God. We can go to the creator of the universe with whatever it is that is causing us anxiety, or whatever it is we're responding to with anxiety. And so instead of worrying over things, we can trust the Lord and be dependent on God and show that through prayer. That we can run to the most powerful being ever, the one who knows this situation better than we could ever know it. And we can talk to him. Now, that's easier said than done often, because we worry about stuff. We want to control. We want to be able to figure things out and have things under our own control. But things are bigger than we are. We can't control this life, but we can trust the Lord with it. And one person may struggle with anxiety or worry more than another, but we all have that same responsibility to do what these verses tell us, which is, instead of being anxious, in all things go to the Lord. And when we do that, we have this wonderful consequence of that being that the peace of God will guard our hearts, will help us to continue to not be anxious, that our hearts and minds will have that protection of knowing the truth, of being dependent on our God. And so this week I'd like to encourage you to think about what makes you anxious often. What sort of things kind of spur you on towards worry, or things that are out of your control. Maybe you might even be able to go ahead and make a short list, or maybe for you it's a long list, and then find scriptures that encourage you or remind you of truth in that area, that you need to trust the Lord with it. Whether that be your health, your finances, your family, relationships, whatever it might be, we can trust the Lord with all these things. And remind ourselves often that we need to give them to Him. Because it's easy for us to pray at one point and then pick it back up and worry about it the next. And we need to just give it to the Lord and pray. That doesn't mean we be lazy with things. It doesn't mean we don't care. It doesn't mean that we don't put effort into things. But it does mean that as we will be diligent to do our best to address these things, these problems, that we trust the Lord with them. That we trust Him with the outcome. We trust Him for the strength to handle it. We trust Him for the truth that ought to guide us through these troubles, whatever they are. And so I'd encourage you, just think for you personally, what is that thing, or what are those things that might make it harder for you to trust the Lord, or might make it harder for you to not worry? And give those things to God specifically. Lord, I know I worry about my paycheck. I worry about what's going on with work. I'm anxious over being stuck in the house for so long, or whatever it might be. Will you trust the Lord with that thing? Will you pray specifically about it? Lord, help me with this. Remind me of what's true. Remind me that one day all this will be over and I will see you face to face. Remind me that you love me. Remind me that you are in control of these things. We need these reminders of truth, and prayer helps us to have that. And so you think about those specific things that may cause anxiety or worry for you, and pray specifically about those. And don't be afraid either to ask someone else to help you to pray about those things. We can pray for one another, and we can talk about these things with one another to encourage each other to trust the Lord with them. Certainly we as individuals and we as a church need to live out these two verses. that we need to trust the Lord with what He's doing now in our time, in our culture, in our personal lives. Trust Him with what He's doing in our church and whatever He may have for us in the future. We need to give those things to the Lord, be faithful today, right where we are, through whatever trial He has for us, through whatever blessing He has for us. We can trust the Lord, and we can pray out of that faith. So I encourage you, again, think about those things that may make it hard for you to trust the Lord, and give them to Him in prayer, and talk specifically with our God in prayer. And if you want help praying about those things, send us a message. We'd love to pray with you about whatever it is you may struggle with, may cause you anxiety or worry. We all have those things. Maybe one thing for you and another for someone else. But we can all apply these two verses. Sometimes it's harder said than done, but it's still the responsibility we have to be anxious for nothing, but to pray in everything. Again, if you want us to pray with you, pray for you, we'd love to do that. Send us a message. Let us know how we can do that for you. And keep praying, stay in the Word, keep encouraging one another, and we'll get through this. We just need to, again, trust the Lord. He's got all this in His own control and His own plan. So we'll keep trusting Him. We'll go to Him in prayer.